Welcome to the Strategies for Retraining Talented Employees During Downsizing. I will now turn the microphone over to our presenter.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Karen D. Smith. I have over 45 years of experience in the legal and business sector. Currently, I am a labor and employment law alternative dispute resolution administrator. Additionally, I am an instructor facilitating classes in the discipline of paralegal studies and criminal justice for a local college. After decades of indirect involvement in downsizing, I became curious and wanted to know why talented and exemplary employees were exiting the organization during a downsizing event. Strategic human resource management and talent management strategies contribute to the performance of an organization when business and human resource objectives align, when talented employees and business strategies do not align, talent sources and financial performances trends result in downsizing. For some organizations to survive in a changing environment, their business and talent managers are searching for effective and successful talent management strategies. Therefore, exploring successful strategies for retaining talented employees became necessary and was the focal point of this case study. Next slide. The general business problem for this study was that human resource managers do not successfully retain talented employees during downsizing. The specific business problem for this study was that some human resource managers lack strategies to retain talented employees during downsizing. At the time of my research in 2016, 2 million layoffs and discharge of employees were attributed to the 60.1 million of total job separation. The purpose statement for this qualitative multiple case study was to explore successful strategies that could lead to business strategies and human resource managers that can use to retain talented employees during downsizing. The underlying principle of this study was to provide leaders with steps for retaining their talented employees, especially during downsizing, to reduce adverse impact on the work environment, as well as those who work is exemplary. The significance of the study was effective downsizing strategies that human resource management practice could provide current and future human resource managers with tools to retain talented employees during downsizing. This case study could be significant for companies looking for strategies to retain talented employees when creating downsizing plans. The conceptual framework for this study was institutional theory of downsizing. William McKinney, Harold Sanchez, Alan Schick augmented the neo-institutional theory of John Mayer and Brian Roman to explain the emphasis of downsizing, creating institutional downsizing in 1995. The social forces underlining the emphasis of downsizing are constraining, cloning, and learning. McKinney et al. Argued that these social forces are critical drivers for downsizing, but do not operate collectively in all conditions. However, dependency, ambiguous performance standards, uncertain core technologies, and frequent corporate interaction patterns that strengthen the influence of these downsizing forces. Therefore, the institutional theory of downsizing allowed me to identify successful strategies that could help provide the understanding of downsizing strategies used to retain talented employees during this downsizing event. Next slide. Social cognitive theory complements the conceptual framework of institutional theory of downsizing, while transactional cost theory differs. Social cognitive theory mirrors the institutional theory of downsizing, similarly regarding learning in social settings. In contrast, transactional cost theory involves transactional cost economies as a behavior for exchange of services or tasks within or outside of the organization between economic actors. Nevertheless, both methodologies are used to highlight the continuous interaction of individuals' behaviors in the environment as a critical factor of inquiring, maintaining, and changing behaviors. Next slide. The overarching research question for this study was, what strategies do human resource managers use to retain talented employees? Study participants consist of human resource management individuals with at least 5 years of experience in human resource or talent management, whose strategies help them to retain their talented employees during downsizing. The sample population consisted of 2 human resource managers from 3 different service industry corporations located in a metropolitan city. As the primary data collection instrument, I conducted face-to-face interviews using semi-predetermined interview questions. A personal sampling was used to gain access to 6 participants in human resource management and talent management using my personal LinkedIn database. Immediately following each interview, I reviewed organizational artifacts such as annual reports and corporate websites of each of the service industry corporations. I also use member checking to diminish research bias and increase credibility and dependability, thus the trustworthiness of this study. As previously stated, organizational artifacts were used as a secondary source to employ methodological extrapolation. These artifacts obtained from each of the websites are included financial communications, company policies and strategies, the management of public relations, human resources, and the social life of the company's artifacts. The data analysis process used for this study was that described by Yin, consisted of compiling the data, reassembling the data, disassembling the data and encoding, reassembling the data, interpreting the meaning of the data, and concluding the data collection process. Next slide. The findings of this study consist of the following: transparent communication, performance management, successful planning. Transparent communication is an integral part of the downsizing process and is significant in the segment of processing the transitioning of downsizing in the work environment. As seen on the slide, this encompasses 33.6% of the responses to the questions. Performance management appraisals play a strategic role when identifying talented employees to retain amid a downsizing event. This theme encompassed 26.8% of the questions asked. However, succession planning offered a blueprint for growing and retention that is vital to prolonging the existence of an organization. During the downsizing event, succession planning can be used to identify talented employees for retention and to increase talent volatility. As seen on the slide, you will see that 39.6% of the questions asked and the participants felt that succession planning was the #1 finding for strategic planning. The findings of this study reinforce the scholarly argument that strategic human resource and talent management processes are activities used to forecast and deviate the direction of the organization during turbulent times, so that business needs and collective needs of the employee can be met by developing and implementing coherent and practical human resource strategies. By incorporating the results of these strategies into business objectives, these objectives could benefit organizational strategies and prove to be valuable to business leaders, human resource managers, and talent managers engaging in the formation of useful employee retention strategies for retaining talented employees during downsizing. Business and human resource leaders could use these findings of this study to implement or rebrand an organization's talent management strategy benchmarks for retaining talented employees during downsizing, encourage human resource managers to evaluate the appropriateness of terminating talented employees, and implement the implementation of effective downsizing strategies. To gain insight from the body of knowledge of effective downsizing strategy, human resource managers use to retain talented employees and to reduce the gaps in the literature. Next slide, please. Interpretation. The case study's themes illustrated offer human resource managers useful strategies for mitigating the loss of talented employees during downsizing. By implementing these strategies, business and human resource managers can evaluate effective downsizing strategies that could be useful. The limitations of this study included that it was limited to the views and experience of a sample population of 6 human resource managers participants in a particular geographical area and employment sector. The recommendations that I have perceived and have for action from this study are: first, business leaders need to understand the role of human resource managers during downsizing. Business leaders must understand this role to manage pre-downsizing communications, evaluate performance appraisals, to identify talented employees, and to create succession plans. Secondly, human resource managers should communicate with other human resource managers effective downsizing strategies being practiced for retaining talented employees during downsizing. Lastly, human resource managers should create succession plans to decrease talented employee separation during downsizing. Additionally, business leaders and human resource managers must align organizational and human resource objectives to influence good talent sourcing and financial performance. Social change implications. Effective downsizing strategies could eliminate personal biases and promote workplace equities by thereby sustaining a labor market participation of individuals in their respective communities. By maintaining talented employee levels is crucial to social change and behaviors of individual communities, organizations, institutions, cultures, and societies and where they live. By using the strategies from the findings of this case study, the implication for positive social change includes the potential for business and human resource leaders to eliminate personal bias and act and promote workplace equities. Downsizing. In conclusion, downsizing is a standard business strategy used by leaders to improve organizational efficiency, promote competitiveness and productivity to reduce the costs, and organizational restructuring and eliminate employees. By identifying and understanding the root cause of the business problem, appropriate HR strategies and practices could benefit retaining talented employees, thus creating a harmonious and productive multi-generational workforce. As you know, we are facing the times in which this study is relevant. Because of the COVID-19, a lot of companies have had to downsize or reorganize their companies to accommodate for this pandemic. I believe that all of the findings of this study can be used by individual businesses, managers, as well as human resource managers to effectively maintain their talented employees. Next slide. Next slide. Now I will take any questions or answers with regards to the findings or with regards to any part of the study.
At this time, our participants are welcome to enter any questions or comments into the chat, or if you prefer, you are able to go off of mute and actually ask your question live. We do have a question that has been put into the chat. Dr. Smith, what impact do you believe the pandemic has had on talented employee turnover?
Significant. Most corporations are seeing about or approximately 50 to 60% turnover in their employees. And the employees in which most corporations are losing are talented and exemplary employees that are looking for other opportunities during the pandemic to further either their career or to become entrepreneurs. With that being said, the pandemic, let me start over. Communication between the employees and management during the pandemic was very crucial in employees deciding whether they were going to stay with their employers or they were going to leave. Research has shown that this was a challenge for a lot of the individuals. With this challenge occurring, a lot of corporations are now seeking talented individuals to replace the individuals that they lost. However, what has occurred is that the talent that has been lost seems not to be coming back into the workforce.
Wonderful, thank you. We do have another question that has come in through the chat. Dr. Smith, thank you for this valuable insight. In your conversations with HR talent management, what was identified specific to the role and responsibility of the business leaders, and managers in retention strategies?
Most of the roles of the business leaders and their individual personnel, I should say, in their staff, was to make sure that individuals using performance management to retain individuals that they can perceive and that they can create a succession plan for in order for them to move forward in the corporation.
Wonderful, thank you for that response. It appears we have answered all of the questions and comments that have been put into the chat. Are there any further remarks that you would like to make before we conclude the presentation?
Yes. Individuals, with respect to employment business strategies, and can also be very influential in how strategic human resource management and talent management strategies are aligned with the objectives of the organization. Having conversations with your managers can allow for your talent to evolve. From that involvement, it can lead to a succession plan. From that succession plan, it could lead to a favorable talented retention of yourself and other employees.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith, for sharing this incredible research with us. And thank you to all of our participants and attendees.